Welcome to Your Lot and Parcel podcast with your host, Benjamin Diaz, designed strictly for you, the consumer. You will find that this platform has your best interests at heart.
Hello, this is your host, Benjamin Diaz. Because of the economic downturn, many need mortgage relief. Therefore, we have invited a special guest today, Kate Bulger, representing Money Management International, where she discusses the options that you have. Welcome to the show, Kate. It's as if we're having a cup of coffee together, so we'll have a good conversation, unless you prefer a glass of wine, whatever strikes your fancy there. But what I like to do is I want you to share some very good things. I'm really excited about your organization. So let's jump right into it with both feet and tell us about your organization, Kate, if you don't mind.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me on. I am Kate Bulger. I am with the company Money Management International. We are a nonprofit financial counseling provider, and that means that we work with consumers to help them overcome their financial challenges and really find or regain their financial footing. We work with folks from all walks of life facing all different types of economic and financial challenges. And as a nonprofit, that means that our goal is really to serve the community, not to serve a board or stockholders, that kind of thing. We're really in it for the consumers. And so it's a great resource for people to get some assistance and help and really get a hand up.
Very good. Very good. So tell us about those that do assist in your organization, that assist the consumer as far as, credentials, qualifications, and so forth.
Absolutely. So our counselors are all certified financial counselors. They often specialize in particular types of assistance. And so the ones that I think are probably most relevant for our conversation today are our housing counselors. They are all HUD certified. And so that means that they have undergone rigorous testing, significant amounts of education, and a ton of experience so that they can help consumers address really any kind of housing challenge that they're facing.
Very good. Let me ask you one thing. As far as assisting in mortgage relief, are there any fees incurred in helping the consumer?
No. So if somebody's calling in because they are struggling with, just trying to make ends meet, if they are, oh my goodness. I am so sorry. I'm not sure why my phone just talked. When someone's calling in, someone's calling in because they are in trouble, they are really struggling to try and make ends meet. They're struggling to make their credit card payments to handle that credit card debt, or if they're struggling with their rent or their mortgage, that counseling is always free. You can call or go to our website anytime and work with a counselor directly to get that help. There are some services we offer that have a fee attached. Usually those are things like we've got an 8-hour homebuyer education course that may have a fee attached. Things like pre-purchase counseling, those kind of things. But if you are a consumer that's in distress, our counseling is always free, and we never turn someone away because of an inability to pay.
Very good. That's very impressive, Kate. I was going over the website, and the word that really caught my attention was compassion. And that's good, especially, with the uncertain times that we're living with the pandemic, and people are really struggling. They're beside themselves. So I really appreciate. How long has this organization been around in regards to what you do?
So our roots go back to 1958. We are we've been evolving and joining and other companies coming together, separate nonprofits coming together to really play on each other's strengths and build capacity. But we became Money Management International in 1997.
I see. Wow. That's very impressive. I've been in the real estate industry for quite a while. In fact, there might have been pterodactyls flying overhead when I came in. But it was in the latter part of the Carter presidency, and things were tough. And so I've seen the markets up and it's a roller coaster. But I've never seen it like this, what folks are experiencing today, because things are just catastrophic in some areas. But I'm glad you're there, Kate, with your organization. So the question is, how can folks get a mortgage relief? Well, there's one program that of course, I'm familiar with, and that is the mortgage forbearance. Can you tell us how that works?
Absolutely. So, mortgage forbearance, the very first step to getting it is to reach out to your mortgage servicer. And anytime you're behind, anytime you are worried about making your payment, you're struggling to pay, they are a great first step, and it's important to talk to them. There has been a lot of challenges that consumers are going through right now, and the servicers have really recognized that and worked to make getting a forbearance as easy as they can. So when someone gets a forbearance, that's essentially first an emergency break. So it's something you only really want to do when you need it. But when you do need it, you absolutely should use it. It's a way of pausing the need to make your mortgage payments, but it doesn't mean that you don't still end up having to repay those missed payments eventually. Yes. And there's a lot of great ways and great options to do that are really flexible and that are really designed to be very generous for the consumer. But it is a way to get immediate relief on your budget, to protect your home, to protect your credit report, and to get a little time to get your feet back underneath of you. Sure. And start recovering, and for the economy and everyone's different local areas to recover.
Yes, good. I know that forbearance is a good option. In fact, I know the interest on that loan continues to accrue. I've seen lenders go up to 3 months, 4 months. In fact, some will even, if necessary, to 12 months. And what it is a suspension of your payments, of course, but you got to catch that, pay that back, of course. And after the period's over, of course, you sit down and discuss how to repay the suspended payments on that. So that's one good program. It really is. I can really appreciate that for the folks that are listening that may need a little bit of help. How about the mortgage deferment?
Yes, there is a lot of confusion around the difference between deferment and forbearance. And you're right, the forbearance does mean that the interest is still accruing, and that there is still that requirement to eventually make those payments up. Deferment is one of the ways that are available to folks to make those payments up. It's something that Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, the big mortgage GSE investors, just recently rolled out. And what it does is at the end of your forbearance period, when you've gone back to work, you've got your income's coming back in, you're back in a stable financial place, and you're in a place where you can start making your regular mortgage payment again. It takes all of the payments you missed, whether that was 3 months or 12 months, and puts them at the end of your mortgage, and they no longer accrue any additional interest, which is great. They also allow you to include your escrows in that, the money that's being put at the end of your mortgage, which is also fantastic, because that means that when you are ready to start making payments again, you're making exactly the same payment that you were making before the forbearance, which is really nice. There's no need to pay extra or catch up or make up some sort of balance over time. Really, those payments all move to the very end of your mortgage.
Yeah.
What is important to know is that you're still going to have to pay that at the end of your mortgage. So
Absolutely.
If you are approaching the end of your mortgage term, you're going to have to be ready to pay off whatever that amount is that you put into deferment.
Yeah, it's a great program. It really is.
It really is.
Yeah. And lenders, of course, they'll cooperate. How involved do you get with the servicing company to get a program like this into place for the consumer, Kate?
Yeah, and so like I said earlier, they have been really mindful of the fact that consumers need a lot of help right now, and they learned a lot of tough lessons during the housing crisis back in 2008, and so in most cases, if you qualify for the mortgage forbearance, and there are some things you'll need to do to qualify. So you will need to be back at work. Your hardship needs to be resolved. You will need to be able to start making your regular mortgage payment again. And you'll need to have been current on your mortgage before you started your forbearance. So that's why it's important, before you fall behind on your mortgage, call your mortgage servicer to get help and start that forbearance right away.
Absolutely. Yeah.
But they have made it really easy to once you meet those qualifications, it's really very easy. The first step is to call your servicer, let them know. They're going to walk through your options with you. They're going to provide you some disclosures. And then they're going to send you a packet of information to sign that just makes that all official. If you're worried about it, if it's a call that you're nervous about making, or that you're not comfortable placing, you're not comfortable talking to your servicer, what we can do is help you make that call so that you can secure it right there. So if a consumer calls us, they want to walk through their different options, they're not sure, the deferment is only one of several options that are available at the end of a forbearance. So we'll walk them.
That's a very kind gesture, to call in a conference call and talk to the servicer that way. I think that's top notch, because often in my observation over the years, Kate, folks are afraid to make decisions because they're afraid it may be the wrong one. You see, and I think with your organization, you're able to sort those things out and come up with a good plan and execute it in their behalf, or at least hold their hand to help them to execute it. So I think it's a very good, I might even say a compassionate gesture. We are speaking with Kate Bulger from Money Management International, and we are discussing mortgage relief for the homeowner. Yeah, I don't know if you would have time to go into the modification or not, but if not, we can do that another time or not, or so. Kate?
Yeah, absolutely. We can talk a little bit about modification.
Okay, a mortgage modification. Now that one's a little different too. Go ahead.
Yeah, so at the end of your forbearance, whenever you either you reach your 12-month limit, or if you're ready to make payments, but your financial situation hasn't quite come back to where you were, and you're not able to make the same payment you were making before, for modification may be a really good way to take care of the balance left in that forbearance. So a modification changes the terms of your mortgage, so it can adjust your interest rate and it can adjust your term, so the number of years that you get to take to repay that mortgage. Mm-hmm. And the goal of the modification is to change your interest rate and change your term so that it lowers your monthly payment to something that's affordable for you. And so in most cases, they can take that mortgage term up to 40 years, which is really helpful. It is a longer time to pay, which is tough and isn't something that consumers get super excited about. But by extending the length of time you have to pay it back, you get to lower that payment to something that you can afford on your new budget, whatever your new budget looks like at the end of your forbearance period.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, so I think the a mortgage modification, when I've seen, of course, as you indicated, renegotiate the terms, lower the interest, and or put a certain lump sum to one side, and then amortize the balance, which would make it, of course, lower payments for you. And that lump sum is it's sitting there without interest and all due and payable when you sell. Sometimes I've seen that. And by the way, Kate, I've seen individuals not only once, but twice get a modification because of having gone through a hardship. So I think it's a good deal. It really is. And I'm glad that you're out there to help these folks that may be struggling and not and apprehensive, not sure which way to go. But do you have any accounts you might be able to relate that the listener may take home with them?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. So we had one client in particular who really stuck with me. Her name is Jessica. Jessica was a manager at a hardware store before the outbreak hit her area. Um, She was laid off from her job, which was difficult, but she was lucky because her employer was able to give her like about 2 or 3 weeks notice ahead of time. And so she was really smart. She knew that once her income was cut, that she was going to need help to really make ends meet, but she wasn't sure what to do next because she had never been in that situation before. It's really tough that first time. It's tough every time, but
Oh, yes.
She reached out to us and spoke with one of our counselors. And what we did is walk through, what her income was with her job, what we thought her income would be uh, without her job. And because we know that there's so many folks who've been applying for unemployment, that a lot of folks are having to wait a couple of weeks and more than a couple of weeks in some cases to start getting that unemployment money, the counselor was able to help her work through how we can make her cash last the time that we thought it would take for her unemployment to come in, and then help her create a budget that would allow her to make and meet all of her living expenses while she's receiving unemployment until the job market comes back so she could go back to work. So that was our first step, is to just sort of get that budget in line.
Wonderful.
But a piece of that budget was making sure that we started her mortgage into a forbearance right away. And so we helped Jessica make a call to her mortgage company, helped her talk through with her single point of contact at the mortgage company, talk about her situation, talk about why she was looking for a forbearance, and we're able to get her started right away. So when she called us, she had no idea what her next step would be. She was really worried. By the time we got off the phone with her, she had secured a forbearance, she had a plan of action, and she had a budget that was really going to help her last through this outbreak and through this hardship until jobs start to come back. And so I felt that was really exciting. It's always nice to have that ending right there in the call.
Absolutely. There's it does bring meaning to, what we do. And that's great. That's really good. And folks, just don't know what should I walk away from my home since I'm having a hard time, or deed the property back to the lender in lieu of a foreclosure. Is that one of my options? No, it's not. There's many more, as we've been discussing here, right? So I encourage anyone that's listening to give Kate and her organization a call, and more than likely something can be worked out with your lender. Anything you want to add, Kate? Anything else you want to add?
I think one really important thing is to make sure that you're calling your lender and staying in close contact with them, but also make sure that any mail that they send you, you're opening and reading and double checking, because mortgage companies are run by people, and people just, we sometimes all make mistakes. And so you just want to make sure that you're reading all the correspondence from them. And if you see something that doesn't look right, reach out right away. And if you're not sure, if you don't feel confident making that outreach on your own, reach out to an organization like ours with HUD certified housing counselors who can help you make that contact.
Appreciate those tidbits, because communication is very important. You got to let your lender know. Otherwise, you just won't know what your options might be. So, Kate, it was indeed a pleasure visiting with you. And tell us, how can the listener get in contact with your organization?
Absolutely. So you can go to www.moneymanagement.org, or if you're in particular in housing trouble, you can call 866-889-9347.
Yes, very good. I've been a little remiss in asking you, how much are you in a certain state, different states? Can you tell me on that?
We are all over. We've got counselors all over the U.S. We've got in-person offices that are temporarily closed for the outbreak. But once we sort of get back to normal and we're able to start getting out there again, we'll have in-person offices all over. You can see a map of our local branch offices online on our website, but otherwise we're available by phone nationwide.
Mm-hmm. Nationwide. So you're talking about all 48 contiguous states plus Alaska and Hawaii?
And also our Puerto Rico and the
Is
Virgin
that
Islands
right?
and Guam. Yes. Yeah.
How do you like that? That's very impressive, Kate. Very, very impressive. Again, thank you. It was a pleasure. And keep up the good work, Kate.
Thank you so much. You too. Thank you for having me on.
Sure. Bye-bye now.
Bye-bye.
Hey, listeners, if you have a specific topic you want to discuss that is germane to the real estate industry, drop me a note at yourlotandparcel.com. And now, if you will excuse me.
This program has been produced by Isaac Diaz with music by Echo Foxtone. All the opinions expressed in this podcast are opinions only and should not be relied on. For more information, please visit the website yourlotandparcel.com.